The first step is checking the tray's extensions on the cast. Wash the tray before placing it in the patient's mouth and make sure it's dry. Place it in the patient's mouth. Check if there is any discomfort with the patient. Check also if there are any frenal attachments that need to be opened. Pull the muscles down and see if there are any extensions that need to be trimmed on the tray. In this example here, we needed to relieve the frenal area on the maxillary tray on the labial frenum. We placed the tray again to check if the relief was enough, and it looks like it was enough. The same process is done to the mandibular. In this example, it seemed that we needed to open the lower labial frenum more, so we did that, and we checked again, and it seems that the relief was adequate as well. The next step will be drying the trays very well and starting the border molding. We start by heating the green stick compound. Once the compound softens, place it on the border of the tray. Then cool the stick with the chill water, put it aside, and temper the compound. Wet your fingers and modify the compound in a way that imitates the borders of the border molding. Warm it up a little bit. Make sure it's tempered before you place it in the patient's mouth, and place it. When you take the tray out, trim the extra material that went on the ridge, soften again the compound, and place it back in the patient's mouth.
Just because, just because caring is loving and loving is caring.
Do the remaining border molding for the maxillary the same way until it's completed. Then start on the buccal shelf areas on the mandible. In the same manner, add compound to the remaining areas. Use the Hanau torch to blend the steps that formed between adding the new and the old compound on the tray. Again, trim the excess area that went to the residual ridge on the tray, and remove that area while the compound is still soft. After you do the buccal on the lower, start doing the lingual. Apply the compound on the lingual flanges on each side. Once you place the tray in the patient's mouth, you're going to ask the patient to stick his tongue out and then move his tongue to the right and the left sides.
We all know quite a number of people who have everything that it would take to be happy, and they are not happy because they want something else, or they want more of the same. And we all know people who have lots of misfortune, and they are deeply happy. They radiate happiness. Why?
The next step will be scraping the compound on all regions, on the upper and the lower, except the height of the compound and the palatal seal areas. So you do not want to shorten the border molding of the compound, you just want to thin it out buccally and limply a little bit. You're gonna next apply the PVS adhesive on the tray and on the green stick compound as well. It should be noted that we placed 2 holes in the palatal of the upper tray to allow the escape of the PVS material and the proper seating when we make the impression. It's usually helpful to bleed the PVS from the tip a little bit and then apply the material inside the tray. This is a slow set PVS that takes 5 minutes to set. So you can take your time while you're doing your wash impression, and while you're applying the material you can take your time in spreading an even layer of the material in the tray. Use a spatula to spread the PVS around the borders of the impression. Place the upper tray in the mouth. Press on the posterior regions first, make sure it's seated, then press on the anterior region. Make sure it's seated, then do your muscle trimming movements and ask the patient to pucker. Then grab the upper lip and pull it down so you can get your frenal attachments. In this situation here, the tray was very firmly stuck in the mouth, so we had to blow air in the tuberosity areas to break the seal in the back, and we removed the tray here. In this example here, unfortunately we had a void in the impression, so we dried the impression very well. Then we added a little bit of PVS in that area to fill that region. Then we place it back in the mouth for another 5 minutes. The same procedure is done on the mandible, except that you have to add the tongue movements where you ask the patient to protrude the tongue out, right and left, in addition to the buccal muscle trimming movements.